Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the hidden meanings behind all those dry corporate filings. And today we're diving into First Busey Corporation's latest report. Get ready because it seems like this bank might be facing a rather hefty tax bill from Illinois. Alright folks, let's get straight to it. First Busey Corporation, a financial institution, has just put out their latest report, and while it covers their regular financial updates, it also highlights a pretty significant tax spat with the state of Illinois. You know how banks always talk about earnings and revenue? Well, today we've got a bit of a tax drama to get through. So on July 22nd of this year, First Busey put out some information about their earnings for the quarter ending June 30th. Normally we dig into the numbers here, but the real headline is actually something a bit more stressful for the company, a dispute over franchise taxes with Illinois. Now, First Busey is publicly traded, and you can find their common stock on the NASDAQ under the symbol BUS, along with their preferred stock also traded on NASDAQ as Busey. This means a lot of people are invested in this company, so when they have issues, it can affect many. The filing basically says that on July 22nd, First Busey released a press release detailing their financial results for the quarter that ended on June 30th. So they're giving us an update on how they're doing financially, but the really spicy details aren't just about how much money they made or lost this quarter. On the same day, July 22nd, they also put out an investor presentation to go over those same financial results. And this is where the company is basically telling everyone what's up. It's important to note that while this information gives us insight, it's being furnished, not filed, which means it's more like a heads up and doesn't carry the same legal weight as a formal filing for specific sections of securities law. Essentially, they're sharing their side of the story. Now, let's get to the main event, the franchise tax matter. This has been going on for a while. Back in 2021, Illinois sent First Busey an inquiry about their franchise tax filings. Franchise tax, as you might guess, is a tax you pay for the privilege of doing business in a particular state. Illinois has its own rules for this called the Illinois Business Corporation Act. First Busey has been cooperating with the Illinois Secretary of State, or ISO, since 2021. In fact, just last October they sent over more forms that the state requested, but they made sure to say that they were doing this while keeping all their rights reserved. That's a big hint that they weren't necessarily agreeing with everything. Then things got tricky earlier this year, specifically around March 20th. The ISOS asked them to resubmit these tax forms using a new way of calculating something called paid-in capital. First Busey feels this new method just doesn't line up with how Illinois has handled these taxes in the past, and crucially, they believe it goes against the current laws and even previous court decisions. That's a pretty strong statement to make. So what did First Busey do? By May 14th, they politely but firmly told the state they wouldn't use the disputed method. Instead, they suggested they continue talking to find a common ground through good faith discussions. It sounds like they were trying to avoid a bigger fight. But discussions didn't go as planned. On July 2nd, First Busey got a notice that the state has scheduled a hearing. This hearing is to figure out exactly how much franchise tax plus penalties, interest, and other fees First Busey supposedly owes. This sounds like the state is moving from asking to demanding. And here's the kicker. The state's initial estimate of what First Busey owes is more than $28 million. This includes over $17.4 million in interest and over $250,000 in penalties. That's a massive amount of money, and it clearly shows how serious this dispute is. First Busey is not backing down, however. They strongly disagree with this huge estimate. They reiterate that the state's position is not only different from how they've acted before, but also conflicts with current laws and legal precedents. They feel they're in the right here. The company is planning to fight this. They say they will vigorously defend themselves and are even prepared to take legal action if needed. This is no longer just a disagreement over forms, it's a full-blown legal battle brewing. Now, as for the financial impact, the company states that it's reasonably possible they might have to pay more taxes with potential penalties and interest or other costs. Right now, though, as of June 30th, they can't even give a good estimate of how much that might be. This uncertainty is always a concern for investors, as it means the final number could be quite significant. What this means is that if they find out for sure they have to pay and can put a number on it, that number could be really big and it could seriously affect their financial results in the period they report it. It's a big if right now, but the possibility is definitely there and it's material. The company has attached their earnings release as Exhibit 99.1. This would typically contain the detailed financial numbers like revenue, net income, earnings per share, and balance sheet information. But as we've seen, the tax issue seems to overshadow the day-to-day financials in terms of immediate concern for the company's stability. And then we have Exhibit 99.2, which is their investor presentation. This would be where they explain their strategy, highlight key performance indicators, and address investor questions. You can bet there were a lot of questions about this Illinois tax dispute in their latest investor calls. Signing off for First Busey on this report is Scott A. Phillips, who holds some pretty important titles. He's currently the Interim Chief Financial Officer, Executive Vice President, and Chief Accounting Officer. Having someone with these roles sign off signals the seriousness and the financial weight of the information being presented, especially the tax dispute. So it's my take on all this. First Busey seems to be navigating a tough situation with the Illinois tax authorities. They're taking a stand on principle and legal interpretation, which is commendable, but it comes with significant financial risk. The potential liability of over $28 million, especially with the ambiguity surrounding the exact amount, is a major overhang for the company. Investors will be closely watching how this unfolds. While their core banking operations might be sound, as indicated by the regular earnings releases, this tax battle is the key narrative right now. It really tests a company's resilience and its legal counsel's prowess. They're in a clear-cut disagreement with the state, and the outcome could have a material impact on their bottom line. Alright, that's our breakdown of what's going on with First Busey and their interesting tax situation. What's your take on whether they'll win this battle with Illinois? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this deep dive helpful, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to Corporate Decoder for more straightforward analysis of company filings. And remember, we have a fantastic community on Discord. The link is in the description. Come join the conversation. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next Decode.